Hello and welcome to Fritz on a Budget. I'm Fritz, and today what we'll be doing on a budget is a repair on a budget. We're going to be repairing a generator that seems to not want to start. It's a Predator 4000 from Harbor Freight. Let's see what we can do with it. Okay, what we have here is a Harbor Freight generator, the Predator 4000, and it's not starting. So what usually happens with these things, from what I hear, is that you buy them, you test them, and just like this one works perfect when you fire it up. But then you go to try it a couple of weeks later and it doesn't start or doesn't stay running. And from what I understand, it's a fuel issue. So what we're going to do today is we're going to drain the old fuel out of this Predator, and we're going to clean out the carburetor and see if that works. Okay, so the first thing I thought would be a problem with this would be the fuel, and that's usually the case with a lot of these small engines. The fuel, all fuel, breaks down within 3 to 4 weeks. It starts to decompose, and within a few weeks or months the gas is virtually unusable. It becomes unstable, and it goes from a clear color with a slight blue haze to no haze but very ambery and dark. It'll leave soot and even a resiny kind of black syrupy sediment at the bottom. Any water in the fuel separates and goes to the bottom, and it really causes a lot of problems. Okay, so the tools you're going to need for this job are carburetor cleaner, a flathead screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, a socket set, and either a guitar string or a paper clip. I figured we'd start with the carburetor first. All the little jets within that carburetor need a little love, so don't forget your paper clip. When you're checking out the engine to see why it won't start, check the oil level. Make sure it's full, because it's got an oil level shutoff. If it gets too low, it will protect itself by not starting anymore. So check that oil level before you do anything else, then check the grade of the gasoline. If it doesn't start then, it's probably a spark plug issue. Okay, so what we got here is the air filter. Just behind that is the carburetor. We got to take this off today. This is held on by one bolt. Right here is a fuel shutoff valve, and what I want to do is trace this hose down and disconnect it, put this hose into this bottle, and drain out said used fuel. And then what we're going to do is we're going to clean out the carburetor, put everything back together, and make sure it's got fuel and oil and all that good stuff. Then we'll try it again and see if we can get it to run. Alright, so as I'm taking this off, we've got the one main bolt for the cover of this air filter. And we're going to take that off. We're going to take off our cover. And we're going to show you something here. You must run 15 to 20 minutes every 3 months. Add fuel stabilizer, clean air filter regularly, or voids warranty. That's the only product that ever tells you that, you know, how to really maintain these things. Unfortunately, this wasn't on that maintenance schedule, so we're going to go right ahead and see if we can fix that up. Okay, so once we have our cover off for our air filter, and that's basically it right here. Nice little sponge, little oily sponge. This is a little flap that goes on over it. I'm going to take that off, and there is our bolt, and there's the inside of our carburetor. Can you see that flap? Well, we're going to take a look and see how that carburetor is looking. That's our bolt. We're going to find the right socket size, and we're going to take that off. That looks like a 10 millimeter. What's on there? Okay. I'm going to take this nut off. I'm going to use the air filter cover as our nuts and bolts tray. Now I'm using a... Oh, look at this. It doesn't even reach. Oh yeah, I don't know how the hell I'm going to do this. Alright, I kind of appreciate it. It's got a little thing on there. Look at that. And they're both 10 mil. There we go. We'll put that in there. Okay, so we got our third bolt. There's this little guy, and it's a 5/16. So we're going to sneak that in there. And, oh yeah, it's coming off. Unscrew that little bastard. Alright, there we go. Now, this is, it feels like it's probably disconnected, but...
No.
Well, it could, but it's not going to go far, but yeah, that's good.
Sure.
Okay, so we have a gasket here that we're going to want to keep, especially since it's in very good shape. I'm going to put that in our tray too. And now we're down to the carburetor. So there's a couple little items here that they're hooked up to. And again, I want to make sure this is off. It says that it's off, so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that it is. So what you want to do before you take this carburetor off is remove the throttle arm and the spring that goes with it. And not even sure if this is the right terminology. If not, you get my apology. Okay, I don't know if you can see this. We have a tiny little spring that was attached to a hole that's above this one. So we loosened that. And now we're going to try and get this out. The spring attaches from this end and the bar attaches from the other end. I'll try and get the spring off. There we go. Now this carburetor may still be filled with fuel, and it probably is.
There we go.
And that gasket, I'm just gonna leave it on there. I'm looking in there and it looks pretty clean, but I think the only problem really lies within the carburetor. Okay, so basically you want to pinch that clamp and get this thing up and out of the way so you can remove your fuel line. And to move it up a good amount so it doesn't fall on the container, I'm going to keep this on an upward angle. See if I can just kind of coerce this thing into coming off with a little twist. Yeah, it's coming off, but it's going to take a minute. And we might spill a little gasoline, but that's what the cardboard's for. Okay, so there we are. That goes into the hose. This is our fuel line. Anything coming out? Not yet. Okay, good. This is our carburetor, and now under here is where we need to get in. One of these is to remove the bulb, and one is a drain. What we got to do is we got to remove one of these, and I don't remember which one. So we're just going to try it and see what we got. And they both appear to be 10 mil, so there's a little gas in there. Usually what happens is you can unscrew that bottom. What's not, here we go.
There goes pop, go to wheel.
This one too.
Good lord.
They're on there from the factory, so. All right, if you notice the color of the gas, you getting that? That's very, 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 very dark. Gasoline is mostly clear. That is what our problem is. There's a lot of ambery resin. They usually say you can smell the gas is bad, and yeah, you can smell it. It smells different. It doesn't smell bad, it just smells different. Well, it kind of is. Here we go. Now, here we go. There's a little bit of very dark gasoline in here. And we got to that. Okay, so, all right, so top one, bottom one. I'm keeping my screws in order. And then this little float is gonna have to come out. And this pin comes right out. It's just a straight pin, there's nothing holding it in place. I'm gonna put that in the tray so I don't lose it. And now this little float should come out. Okay, now, that little point on the end, that looks good. They usually say to clean that out real good, but every single one of these little holes, they look clean, but chances are they're clogged. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that apart and clean it out good. Okay, so what we have here is the carburetor mostly broken down. What you wanna do is keep that O-ring in place because we're gonna try and keep that. This carburetor, it seems, yes, there is some deposit. You can see there's a little bit of brown here, and you can kind of just pull that off. So in there, I don't know if you'll be able to see that with the lighting, but there's a little part that has a flathead screwdriver adapter. We're going to get that out of there. I believe that's the fuel jet. Did I do it without stripping it? Oh yeah. Yeah, it's coming out. Okay. This is good because a lot of times it's crusted shut. This actually had some pretty good fuel in it. I wouldn't be surprised if this was actually treated, but it's been so long that we do have some deposits. So let's see what we got. Okay, here is our jet. And there it is. Okay. That, let's see. Okay, you can see the hole through it. Can you see that little light coming through? That actually looks pretty good. Now, looks can be deceiving. That's the way it should look, but it might not be clean enough. So we're gonna hit that with carburetor cleaner and poke a paper clip through. Gently, of course, because we don't want to screw this up, but it looks like there is some clogging going on. And this part being clogged, or one of the many parts that it attaches to, is usually the case where if this is not perfectly clean, it will not stay running once you get it started. Now don't press too hard with the paper clip or the guitar string because you're using steel on what appears to be brass. It's a harder metal, you don't want to remove the brass, you just want to scrape it clean. So just the ambery resin that's stuck on there, the dirt, the sediment, not the metal. Yes, it was in that big hole. And if you notice, you see there's a little bit of brown on here, on the side. I don't know if the camera can pick that up. Let me see if we can wipe that. Yeah, that resin, that tar that I speak of, and it's really not that bad in this one, thank God. So carburetor cleaner is all we're going to need. That looks real good in there too. There's a couple of spots I was told should be cleaned. That little jet in there, this one over here, and also we're gonna put this part down in here so we don't lose it. This, all right, I believe this may be an idle adjustment. So it's good to note where you have it set, and it looks like the threads are 2 threads exposed where it's coming up over here. Let me just move this. Right where that screw is protruding, I could see just about to the 2nd thread. And that is going to be our reference point, because I'm going to have to remove this to get to what we have to get to next. Okay, so we're going to take this, I believe it's an idle screw. We'll take this idle screw off. And we're going to push this. All right, we're going to put this right in here in the tray. And then we're going to take this and we're going to push this up. Oh boy, that's coming up much easier than I thought. Okay. And this, oh, look at how fine that little jet is. That's a real son of a bitch, isn't it? This came from this hole right here. And it looks pretty clean in there, which is good. But we're going to spray it with carburetor cleaner anyway. So now we have this part and this part we've got to clean. And we're just going to blow the holes clean and see where it takes us. What you'll want to do is you're going to want to spray those jets out with some carburetor cleaner and use either a plain guitar string, not the wound ones, or a paper clip to push through and make sure that those jets are nice and clean. Okay, so with glasses on, we're going to get some, oh yeah, it comes right back at you. Oh! Yeah, it really, really blows out, so it's good to do that away from yourself. And oh Jesus!
Well, hey, where did that come from?
Hold on. Hold on. So behind that jet that you remove with the flathead screwdriver, there's going to be another little fuel jet kind of part, another brass little part that goes in there. Mine fell out on me, and I had to figure out which end to put back in. The skinny end goes in first, and that has to be cleaned out well too. So keep your paper clip handy. All right, so we're going to try and spray this little jet out. And I'm going to use paper towels to hold it. Okay, so now that you sprayed it with carburetor cleaner, what you want to do is take a paper clip or a guitar string or something and stick it in there. Just stick it in there. And make sure you wipe any sediment out that could be in there without carving the inside of the thing, because it's a tiny little hole. But you know, the idea is to try and get it as clean as you can. Let me look down in there and see. All right, I'm going to assume that that's definitely clean enough. Alright, I've already sprayed this thing too. And this has plenty of these microscopic little jets in there. And I can see through all of these. I don't know if it was the same case earlier. Ooh, is this thin enough to go in those little holes? Kinda, yeah. Okay, yeah, look at that. Okay, so we're gonna just stick it through these tiny little, the microscopic little jets. So this tiny little piece of wire I have is actually not so bad, because
It's not so bad.
not so bad. No, they're all looking clean. They're all looking really clean, so no complaints from me. All right, here's the fuel bowl. We're gonna give that a little bit of a spray. Just a little splash, right? And what we're gonna do is let it sit for 30 seconds. Yeah, see, I give it a wipe, and you see that brown resin there? This is probably the cleanest situation you'll see it in. It's usually much darker, but that brown, you can get a look at that, right? That blue is from the thread lock that melted when we hit it. But anyway, any brown you see from the inside of this bowl, that is what happens when gasoline makes it to the 4-week mark. Unless you get Stabil or whatever it's called, a fuel stabilizer called Stabil. Yeah, you give it a touch of a wipe and that's what comes out. That is what most likely prevented this thing from running consistently. So we're gonna just wipe this out, and yeah, even more coming out. It's, you know, it shows that. Oh, look at that. Now we're getting it pretty clean. All right, so now it went from an amber to a gold. That's the actual metal that we're seeing now. It's starting to match the outside a little more. But the gasoline was caramel colored. It looked like a sick, dehydrated person's piss. It looked pretty bad. All right, now this plastic piece has a jet on it. Now, this may be the piece that was giving us trouble. We don't know. We're just gonna spray it, and again, away from your face. And I'm gonna run this thing through gently because I'm not that mechanically inclined where I would know exactly what's going on and what's supposed to happen here. I don't know if there's something that could block it or...
Like a force field.
Oh yeah, this stuff is melting to my fingers.
Everything's sprayed.
It melts the gloves to your fingers, so... It's... His skin can handle it better than the gloves, but my skin can't handle much, so here I am with gloves. Okay, so what we want to do is 2 steps here. First, we're going to put the carburetor back together, and we're going to wipe things down as we do it and make sure everything is just where it should be. The second thing we want to do is we want to drain this tank, so we're just going to drain that fuel line into this container. Okay, so again, I'm just going to inspect all the pieces and make sure it looks like it's an even hole and that it's been cleaned good enough. This piece has been sprayed thoroughly. We're not sure if it needs any more than that, but we're just going to wipe everything down and put this sucker back together. Oh yeah, I'm seeing all these little jets are pretty much clean. Anywhere where fuel can go through, we've sprayed, we've cleaned, and it looks pretty good. When you take out this little valve with the flathead screw on it out of this hole, this is underneath it, and it fell out on me. I wasn't sure exactly how to put this away. Wow, that's clean. Okay. And I looked down in the hole, and it looks like the only way it fits... Yeah, the skinny end first. There's a skinny end and a fat end.
All right, cool.
Put the skinny end first, and these microscopic little jets on the side all look like they're completely cleaned, so that's good. It wasn't too bad, but it may have been bad enough to keep it from running, so we're going to drop this down in the hole. I'm going to put this down in the hole, get it to where it touches. If it ever goes down there. Yep, there it is. Now we're just gonna give it a little snug. We don't want to strip anything, we want it nice and tight. That should be good. Okay, one more time, just make sure. Yeah, that's in there. Okay, so we've got that. Now, what we can do is, where's our plastic part? There we go. Yeah, this part right here is gonna go, I guess, in here, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna push it straight down in there, and then from there we're gonna take our idle screw and put that back. And our idle screw was, I believe, just on like about the 2nd thread protruding. So let me wind this up. Yeah, that's how blind I am. All right, so you don't want to strip this because it looks like it's not very durable. So we're just going to screw that in. I don't know if you can see it, but it's about, now it's starting to protrude. Here we go. So we're going to look for some threads. There goes one thread. That's about the 2nd thread. I'll double check that. Yeah, right about there is where it was. Okay, so we'll leave it right there. So I think now we can go ahead and put this piece in. And then we're going to put the pin back in that holds it in. It's like a hinge. And that's a matter of just lining up the hole, which it is, and sneaking this through. Easier said than done, but no, we can do that. And yeah, right through. Okay. I'm going to put the fuel bowl back on. The fuel bowl. Everything seems to be okay here, and there was a little bit of resin kind of accumulating on here. I was able to literally wipe it off my finger. Alright, the fuel bowl is good to go. I'm not sure exactly what direction it's supposed to go in though. That's could be a bit of a pain in the ass. Let's see. Alright, so one is to hold it in the middle, and one is just off to the side. So I'm not sure if it has to be any particular way. I could put our mounting screw for the fuel bowl back in, and I'm just gonna put it in loosely for now, and that's our drainage screw above that, so we'll put that in now. What we want to do is, before we put the carburetor back on, we're going to drain the fuel, but I believe what we have now is a carburetor that is now fully reassembled. This container is a little bit taller than we'd like it. It would be nice if it would just sit there, but it's not going to, so I'm going to hold it. But we're going to make sure our clamp is on there good, which it is, because we don't want to drop it in here. And we are going to release, and we'll open this. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to open the top and let it fall down in there. Yeah, so obviously the gas went bad. So what we have is we have plenty of fresh gasoline that's been stabilized already. We're going to add another touch of stabilizer to it just in case. I added the minimum amount just to try and preserve it. We purchased that about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it didn't go bad because I added the stabilizer. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put the carburetor back on. We're going to make sure our gaskets are right in place where they should be. We're going to reconnect our fuel line. We're going to remount our air filter. And then we're going to fire this thing up and see if we had any progress. We drained the old fuel out. So now we'll put the fresh treated fuel in, and hopefully that will do it. Okay, slip the carburetor on, and you just got to make sure with the gasket that you have your holes lined up the best way, and I'm hoping I did that right. I'm going to slip the fuel line on, which it's going to go right on. We're going to use the clamp to make sure that it's really on there. So pinch it and slide it on, and we're going to make this a little more accessible. And we're going to use pliers to loosen that clamp up a little, slip it on there, and boom, okay. That should be good. Okay, I got it. Alright, supposedly that's how it goes. So we're gonna mount this onto the... It should have been on there when I did it, but my fat hands, I can't get my fingers in there, so I can't mount this thing properly. Now we just gotta reset this spring. Actually, I'll put that on a little, and let's see if we can take some slack off. And we're going to see if we can mount that spring where it's supposed to go, but I literally can't see it. Oh, almost. I got it, okay. All right, so now, without the carburetor coming off at all. So if you want to ruin the project, all you have to do is follow my instructions and you'll be just fine. So we can do this. I'm just going to start that on there. Okay, then we do this. And we get that one on loosely too. Just enough to make it work. And there's another one back there, so yeah.
There it is.
This fucking cheap piece of aluminum, so it just bends in place. Really just... So this thing can tighten. There we go, just a little. And then we go to tighten these. Right up against there. And we're just gonna send them home. That's tight enough. And I guess this is prevent blowback in case of backfiring. It stops the, stops any fire from happening. Oh, come on. It gets on there. And it'll go on there too. 100% blinded by this crap. Okay. And that is to prevent blowback. This is our...
Oh, is you gonna clean that?
What's that? No, it doesn't need it.
Okay.
It certainly doesn't need it today. Okay, we're just gonna put this puppy back on. It hangs on the top and it screws in on the bottom. And now from this point, once this is tightened, what we gotta do is make sure we've tightened everything good, and then we're gonna put some fresh fuel in here. Okay, so what you want to do to treat the fuel is use a fuel stabilizer. I use Stabil, S-T-A-B-I-L. Get it at any auto parts store. It seems to work pretty good, and it will keep your fuel good for up to a year. So I want to make sure there's plenty of stabilizer in there.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay, we're gonna go with that. That's almost all the gas. Okay, that's about an inch of gas before the bottom of the filter. See how you can see it, and it's kind of a clear color. That's what gasoline should look like. Okay. All right, let's see if this starts.
There we go.
Well, that's how we got the Predator 4000 started again. I'm hoping that it helped you out. If you can, keep a camera handy, and like I did, film it so you can backtrack and put it back together with a lot more ease than if you tried to write it down or just go by memory, especially if you're not a mechanic like I'm not a mechanic. So essentially, this is the only small engine repair I've ever done in my life with zero experience. And I learned everything I did in this video from just watching 1.5 to 2 full YouTube videos on it. So now I'm putting one up for you to learn on, and hopefully you can probably do the same and pass the knowledge on, because not everyone can afford a mechanic. Sometimes we got to do it ourselves. And we'll let you know about some more repairs that are happening in the future, or other things that we could do on a budget. We're going to be doing some construction on a budget. We're going to be doing repair on a budget. We're going to be doing cooking on a budget. Hell, we're even going to be doing shopping on a budget. We're going to do lots of things on a budget. And of course, the tone on a budget series is going to be kind of limitless. I've got more material than video, so I'm going to be hard at the wheel with that one. If you've got any ideas for anything you need me to do on a budget, maybe I can do that. Well, if this video helped you out today, then please like and subscribe, tell a friend, and maybe you can help someone with the same kind of knowledge. I'm Fritz. This has been Fritz on a Budget, and we'll see you next time.